Imagine this. A single Russian fighter jet screaming at Mach 2 locks onto 5 enemy planes at once from 200 miles away and turns them into fireworks before they even know what hit them. That's not Hollywood. That's the Su-30SM in action. But here's the shocker. Despite its godlike reputation, this beast has an Achilles heel that could doom it in the next big dogfight. What if the sky's ultimate predator is secretly vulnerable to something as simple as a software glitch? Stick around, because today we're ripping open the classified files on the Su-30SM. Its birth in the shadows of the Cold War, the brutal wars it's dominated, its jaw-dropping strengths, its hidden weaknesses, and why it's still ruling the runways in 2025. You won't believe what happens next. Welcome back to SkyPulse Aviation, where we dive bomb into the world's deadliest war machines. If you're new here, you're in for a wild ride through the cockpit of history. Today, we're strapping into the Sukhoi Su-30SM, the Russian flanker that's been turning air superiority into an art form. This isn't just a jet, it's a flying fortress designed to make NATO pilots sweat. But how did this monster evolve from Soviet sketches to a frontline terror? Let's rewind the clock and trace its thunderous timeline. Our story starts in the frosty forge of the Cold War back in the 1970s. The Soviet Union was locked in an aerial arms race with the West, and their ace in the hole was the Su-27 flanker, a beast built to counter the American F-15 Eagle. Entering service in 1985, the Su-27 was a game-changer, super maneuverable, with thrust vectoring engines that let it dance like a ballerina on steroids. But by the late 80s, the USSR was crumbling, and Sukhoi engineers at the Komsomolsk on Amur plant were dreaming bigger. They wanted a two-seater variant for long-range strikes and training, something that could export like hotcakes and keep the motherland skies ironclad. Enter the Su-30. In 1989, the prototype took its maiden flight, but it was the Indians who lit the fuse. Facing a two-front threat from Pakistan and China, India inked a deal in 1996 for the Su-30MKI, a customized killer with French and Israeli tech bolted on. Why build it? Simple. The Soviets needed cash, and the world needed a multi-role monster that could dogfight, bomb, and recon without breaking a sweat. Production ramped up in Irkutsk, blending raw Russian power with global brains. Fast forward to the 2000s, Russia's economy rebounds on oil bucks, and the Air Force demands an upgrade. The Su-30SM, Serenij Modernizirvani, or Serial Modernized, was born in 2009 as a homegrown evolution. First flight in December 2012, combat ready by 2014. It wasn't just a facelift, it was a full-body armor job. Thrust vectoring AL-31FP engines, upgraded avionics, and a N035 Irbis-E radar that spots stealth jets like fireflies in the night. But blueprints don't win wars, battlefields do. So, when did this bird first taste blood? Strap in. its combat debut was a Middle East masterclass. In September 2015, Russia deployed Su-30SM to Syria's Latakia air base to prop up Assad's regime against ISIS and rebels. Picture this: sleek silver flankers launching from dusty runways, escorting Su-34 bombers on precision strikes. In one hairy op, a pair of Su-30s tangled with Turkish F-16s over the Turkish border. Tensions boiled, but the Russians' long-range R-77 missiles kept the Turks at bay. By 2018, over 100 sorties logged, no losses. Syria honed the SM's edge. It proved it could loiter for hours, slinging Koch 59 cruise missiles at truck convoys 180 miles out, all while evading man pads like a ghost. Then came the big one, Ukraine, 2022. As Russian tanks rolled in, Su-30SM swarmed the skies over Donbass, the first major peer versus peer clash since the jet's birth. These weren't milk runs. Ukrainian MiG-29s and Bayraktar drones put up a fight. Early wins. Spectacular. On February 24th, a Su-30SM from the 791st Fighter Aviation Regiment vaporized a Ukrainian column with unguided bombs, footage going viral. They racked up air-to-air kills too, claiming 3 Ukrainian jets in the opening weeks, using supercruise speeds to pounce from the rear. But here's where the timeline twists. By mid-2023, attrition hit hard. Ukrainian SAMs like the S-300 downed at least 6 Su-30s, including one piloted by a decorated ace. Why? Exposed flanks in contested airspace. Still, the SMs adapted, focusing on SED, suppression of enemy air defenses, with KH-31P anti-radar missiles clearing paths for cruise missile barrages on Kyiv. As of late 2025, Russia's lost around 20, but the survivors, battle-hardened legends, logging thousands of hours and proving the SM's a tank in the sky. Now let's pop the hood on what makes this jet a nightmare for adversaries. Strengths? Buckle up. There's an arsenal here that'd make Tony Stark jealous. First, that Irbis-E passive electronically scanned array radar. 400-kilometer detection range, tracks 30 targets, engages 8 simultaneously. It laughs at low observable tech. Even F-35s get pinged at 100 kilometers if they're not careful. Pair it with the OLS-30 infrared search and track, and you've got 360-degree awareness. No radar emissions needed. Perfect for ambushes. Maneuverability? Insane. Those AL-31FP engines crank 27,557 pounds of thrust each, with 3D thrust vectoring for post-stall tricks like the Cobra maneuver. Nose up to 120 degrees without stalling. In a dogfight, it's like fighting a drunk octopus. It twists, rolls, and flips in ways physics says nope. Payload? A staggering 17,632 pounds across 12 hardpoints. R-37M hypersonic missiles that scream at Mach 6, outranging anything NATO fields until the AIM 260. And range. 3,000 kilometers combat radius without refueling, extendable to 8,000 with tanks. Multi-role magic means one jet swaps from air superiority to ground attack mid-mission, dropping KAB 500 smart bombs or zapping tanks with Vickers laser-guided missiles. But no jet's perfect. And the Su-30SM's got chinks in its titanium armor that could spell doom. Weaknesses. Let's get real. Maintenance is a beast. Those finicky engines guzzle AL-41 variants, and Russia's sanction hit supply chain means downtime skyrockets. In Ukraine, we've seen jets grounded for weeks over part shortages. Reliability? Spotty. Early models suffered avionics glitches, false radar locks leading to friendly fire scares, and the fly-by-wire system's only 80% as forgiving as Western counterparts. Stealth? Zilch. Its radar cross-section is 10 square meters. An F-22 sees it from the next county. Cost bites too. $50 to $60 million a pop, plus $20,000 per flight hour. Cheaper than an F-35, but Russia's production lags at 20 units yearly. And pilots. The two-seater shines for complex ops, but it demands elite crews. Russia's training pipelines strain post-2022 losses. In sims, it dominates 4th-gen foes, but against 5th-gen swarms. Vulnerable to networked warfare, drones, and EW jamming its OLS blind spots. So, where does the Su-30SM soar in 2025? It's the backbone of Russia's VKS, over 120 in service, with 100 more on order. Export stars too. Kazakhstan flies 24, Armenia 16, and upgrades keep coming, like the SM-2 with ESA radars for 2030. India's MKI fleet, 272 strong, is the real powerhouse, upgraded with BrahMos supersonic missiles for Indo-Pacific punch-ups. Globally, it's in 10 air forces, from Algeria's desert patrols to Vietnam's South China Sea stares downs with China. Future, hypersonic integrations and drone mothership roles could make it a 2040 staple. But with Ukraine grinding on and Western tech leaping, is the flanker fading or evolving into the Su-57's big brother? There you have it, the Su-30SM. From Cold War whisper to hot war hammer, a jet that's rewritten rulebooks but teeters on tomorrow's edge. What do you think? Unbeatable beast or overhyped relic? Drop your take in the comments, and if this cockpit confessional kept you glued, smash that like button. Before we scramble, if you haven't already, subscribe now. Join 1,000 aviation addicts getting weekly drops on jets that shape our world. Bell on for alerts. Thanks for flying with us. Clear skies, pilots. See you in the pattern.